What if all the problems, all the conflicts that we face on the day-to-day as human beings can be explained through one simple pattern? My name is Jay, and over the last 7.5 years, I have been working with people and I've been a student of human patterns. So I'll give you a quick example of a few patterns that I see very commonly. I see them in myself, I see them in other people, and probably you've seen them in yourself as well. There's one, let's call it the early riser pattern. This is very, very familiar. So you decide one day, hey, you know what, tomorrow is going to be the day. I am going to be an early riser. I'm going to wake up early in the morning. And you make that decision, you put the alarm in the night, you put the alarm aside, and then you go to sleep. You wake up next morning when the alarm rings, you pick the alarm up, and what do? Snooze, right? 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes, 15 more minutes. And then you keep the alarm aside, and then you eventually wake up in the morning, you feel regret, say, you know what, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll wake up from tomorrow. But here's the thing. Doesn't it feel like the person who decided with all this motivation to wake up early the next morning, the previous night, and then the person who snoozed in the morning, he said, 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes, that they're two completely different people. At least they want two completely different things, but they're living in the same body. Let me give you another example, right? Maybe this is a little bit more personal to me, but you've experienced something like this in your life in some way or the other. I was having a conversation with my partner. We were in my living room, and this was a few months ago, and we're talking, and she looks at me, and there's this very serious expression on her face, and she says, Jay, can you just listen to me? And we've been having this conversation for a while, and I thought I was listening to her, but something about the way that she said it just triggered me, and I just said to her, like, what do you mean? Of course I've been listening to you. What do you think I've been doing all this time? And the way that I said it, she had this shocked expression on her face. And it was as if almost that I had slapped her in that moment. Not physically, of course, emotionally. And I was just immediately filled with regret. I said, why did I do that? All she had said was, please listen to me. She probably has something really important that she wanted to share, but why was I defensive? So one moment I'm just telling her off, and then another moment I feel so much regret. I feel so sorry. I feel like, what the hell? Why did I do that? That's not who I am. Two completely different people living in the same body. I want you to think about it in a different way now. I want you to reimagine this scene that I just explained to you, but this time, instead of just me and my partner in that room, imagine that there were 3 other people. So there's this part of me, there's this version of me, we'll call him the adult, right? He's in that room with us. And this is the version of me that loves my partner very much, that wants to grow, that's logical, probably the version of me that you're seeing in front of you right now. And then there's another version of me, and we'll call this version of me the child. And so the child is terrified. The child is terrified of not being enough. The child is terrified of being abandoned. The child is terrified of dying. It's just terrified. And there's this third part of me that is the security guard, or we'll call him the guardian. And the guardian's job is just to protect the child. Now, let's replay the scene. We've got this guardian, and the guardian will only listen to one person in that room. It's not my girlfriend. It's not me. It's not self-discipline. It just cannot be controlled by any other part of me except the child. So when my partner says to me, Jay, listen, the child is hearing, she thinks I have not been listening all this time. And she thinks that I'm not good enough. She thinks that I am not enough. I think she's going to leave me. And the child is terrified of this loss. And so what happens? The guardian gets up and it plays the only strategy it knows how to play. It attacks. And it manages to protect the child. But what it does is it destroys the moment. It's really crazy that once all of this is over, the adult inside of me is just left standing there going like, what the hell happened? Like, why did I say that? Why did I do that? The one question that has preoccupied me most of my adult life, even before I started working with people, I started studying human patterns, is why do we as human beings do things that hurt ourselves, that sabotage ourselves? Why as human beings do we do things that end up hurting the people closest to us? And 8 years ago, I discovered this assessment. And when I did the assessment, what it showed me is how exactly my guardian was protecting my child. See, I want you to consider this framework. The child has needs. Every child is born with needs. There's this need to be safe, secure, sheltered, have enough food to eat, have the right temperature, right, to survive. Then we've got social needs, right? We want to know that somebody has our back. As children, we have our parents, we have our family, then we learn about friends, then we learn about the wider social community. And we have this need that we want to feel connected with other people. And then finally, there's this third need. It's the need to create, create others like us. So reproduction, procreation, but also all kinds of creation, art, building something, building a company, building ourselves, growing. So it's this need to create. So we've got safety, we've got connection, we've got creation. And these needs, when they're not met, the child behaves as if its existence is threatened. And when that happens, then the guardian comes into action. And it runs that same playbook over and over and over again to protect the child. And so what do most people do when they want to change their lives, they want to transform their lives? What do? They try to take over the security guard. They try to reason with the guard. But the guard will never, ever, 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 ever listen to anyone except the child. So what do? What if we were to go to the child instead? That really, it's fighting a war from 20 years ago. See, the child still thinks that it's a child. It still thinks that it has the abilities, the limitations of a child. And anytime it feels threatened, it's terrified. What if it slowly began to learn that, in fact, it did not need to feel threatened, that it's not as vulnerable as it once was? I'll give you another example. So this is a friend of mine, and she's really super talented, amazing person, wanted to do something that she felt passionate about, but her family had always seen her as somebody who would go to office, have the safe, secure job, because that's what they've always known. But she was really good at it, by the way. She did get a corporate job. She was making more than anybody else her age, and she did fantastic, but she was so unhappy inside because she knew that she wanted something else. And so there was this constant tug of war between what she wanted and also her wanting to keep her family happy. And I asked her, what's really going on over here? Isn't your family going to be happy if you're happy? And what came out was crazy. She was crying and she said to me that she doesn't want to disappoint her family. And what I realized is that probably the child inside of her was just afraid of losing that connection with her family. And because of that fear, the guardian inside of her refused to let her do anything besides the job that she was doing. It was nuts. But when she sort of realized that she wouldn't lose her family, that her family would always be with her. The crazy thing is that she left that job, she traveled to another country, and she started teaching yoga there, which has always been her passion. Wow, amazing. And I thought to myself, what changed? What what happened to that child? What realization did that child have? What did the child learn that caused that child to finally grow up? So instead of going to the security guard, what if you went to the child instead? What if you took the child by the hand and you actually showed the child, hey, look, this thing that you're afraid of, this thing that you feel threatened by, it's actually no longer a problem. What if the child realizes that it's no longer vulnerable? And what if the child stops being afraid? If you're struggling with your finances, what if you could stop fighting yourself and actually go ahead and start that business, stop procrastinating? Or what if you are struggling with relationships and you could actually stop being defensive? What if you could show up authentically as yourself in your relationships, attract the right kind of people for the change instead of for going from one bad relationship to another bad relationship following that same pattern? So here's my invitation to you. Try this the next time you do something that shocks you or surprises you in a negative way. Don't judge yourself. Don't criticize yourself. Get curious instead. Ask, what is my security guard trying to protect me from? What is my child afraid of? Is the threat real? Or is my security guard fighting a war from 20 years ago? And so now there's a chance that the child can grow up, the security guard can stand down, and you can finally show up. Not the version of you that is anxious, that is worried, not the version of you that's trying to live up to somebody else's expectations, not the version of you that's constantly chasing, looking for something, but just you, the real you. What would that be like? Thank you.